What's with the cat? It looks to me like it's trying to follow us home.
That's just my friend.
Okay, I guess that's only slightly strange. Achieved with sand.
You're nothing without that sand of yours.
Did you come here to help me? Such a good boy.
Clips! This isn't over. It'll never be over until Clips is defeated once and for all. Clover, return! Doesn't he roll the dice to see it?
I'm guessing that the guy's probably got specific rules he follows. I don't think he does.
I caught you so easily. It's over. End of story.
Oh, no, it isn't.
You're a pain, you know that?
All right, if that's how you want it, we'll finish it the hard way. Extra hot coffee.
It's a good boy. Next! No wonder Yada had a hard time with you. This is it. The public will pay top dollar to gaze upon such hideous monstrosities. We're back in business! I think it's time to invite them aboard.
I thought that you might be able to decipher my message.
Oh, I wasn't so bad. You used a basic DVB scramble algorithm, so I just...
Plot the ECM data stream.
Desperate to help us. Frustrating. It won't be long before frustration turns to anger.
You gotta be kidding! You forgot your homework again, Nobi? Go stand in the hall!
Yes, Mr. S.
Perfect. I can stop. Listen up. We're in collections, so scumbags who don't pay up. You got it? So if that's what the people desire, then Shark is who I will be. And that is the reason why I wear this mask. Look alive, Master Joestar. It's right about now, you're probably wondering who I am. Allow me to elucidate you. You are where you are today because I'm so glad I was able to help. That was a good thing. I can't recall what our original maybe it wasn't like either of us. In the end, I finally realized it didn't matter.
Lillian, speak up! Where are you? Talk to me!
Lynette.
Give it up for Keith Silverstein! Wow.
How's everybody doing? Proud. We have Makoto here? Yeah! Nice.
What's a con without great anime hair, you know?
Yeah, I've never been to one without great anime hair.
So that's quite a body of work, man. That's something else. I actually didn't know you'd done some of that until I was like looking you up for this thing. Let's just start with some really basic stuff. Where'd you come from? Where were you born? I mean,
Where was I born? I was born in Plainfield, New Jersey. Anybody from New Jersey? Anybody?
Jersey?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was born in Plainfield, New Jersey. I actually was my parents weren't married. They were a mixed couple at the time, and they put me up for adoption. I was in foster care for about 3 months, and then the most amazing couple in the world came along and adopted me and raised me ever since.
So you grew up in New Jersey and all that stuff.
Well, we did. I was in Jersey just for those 3 months, and then in Philadelphia, I was in Philly. We got a little more love for Philly. Okay. And then Philly till I think I was about 7 years old, and then we moved out to California because my mom was done with the snow. She was over it. I mean, even at my age, I knew she was over it. So yeah, we came out. We lived in Irvine, Santa Ana. That wasn't so great. And then Huntington Beach. I did a lot of my growing up in Huntington Beach, bro, in the OC, man. Yeah, bro. That's awesome, man. So it was an interesting upbringing. Growing up there, bro.
So somewhere along that line, you got bit by the bug to perform. So where did that happen? I can point to where I went, oh, that's what I'm going to do. Do you have one of those moments?
I was always a performer in a lot of senses. When we were young, my siblings and I, we would, whenever there was like, it was Thanksgiving or something, we would make tickets and sell them and then put on some like improv show for the family, whether they wanted to watch it or not. So we clearly had the bug. But I actually started doing, I was thinking about this, and I actually started doing, I know you don't like the term dubbing, Eric doesn't like dubbing, but I started dubbing. Localizing in 1980, because my buddy lived 2 houses down from me, and one of our favorite pastimes, and we didn't know this was a thing, was we would take his old Betamax VCR player, which is like an old Blu-ray player, for those of you who know what that means, and we would take a little tape recorder, which I guess is like your iPhone, and we would, at the same time, we push record on one and play on the other, and we turn the volume down, and we would, just the two of us, we would play this game where we would go, okay, cool, you're the first character on screen, I'm the next one, we keep alternating, and once you've established a character, you're that character all through. Female, male, doesn't matter, it makes no difference. And then when we were done, and it was always hilarious, we would rewind them both, and go 1, 2, 3, and play them both, and we would sit and watch and just laugh hysterically. And we like to do movies that we've never seen before, or we had, you know, only a rough basis of what was going to happen, because we loved it when we made like obvious mistakes, like, well, I'm going to leave now, but first I'll go in the closet, you know, because you had no idea what was going to happen. We loved those like spontaneous moments where you thought one thing was going to happen, you think he's talking to a woman on the phone, so you're going, I'm off to the other side of the phone, boy, and then they finally cut to that, and it's a big burly guy, and you have to stick with the voice, so you're like, yeah, how'd that surgery go? Yeah, my voice sounds great now. So I was doing it forever.
So is that something you like, was that like a hobby too? Did you do theater and things like that in school?
I did theater in school. I did in high school. I did a lot of theater. And after high school, I made the mistake of like spreading out what I wanted to be instead of focusing. So I thought because I used to break dance back in the day, just been on my head. Look at that, yeah, I was original.
I'm making Dexter big here soon. So.
You can tell that I used to, but that's about it. You'd be like, yeah, he probably was good at one point. So I didn't know if I was going to be a dancer or a rapper or an actor or I was going to draw and be an artist. So I got nowhere. But my uncle called me up, and he was a great artist. And he called me up one day and said, hey, I know you always have liked to do voices. I'm doing a project for an art gallery opening that I have, and I have all these tribesmen, their faces that I've drawn, and I have this poetry to go with them, and I just need people to read this in a convincing voice so you can see what the character looks like. And I called him back and did on his answering machine, you know, an audition. And I ended up getting cast, and it was like a full, like he paid me and everything. He wasn't just like, let's go on the Jeep and get Keith. I mean, maybe a little bit. I'm not going to kid myself, but
you paid him.
Yeah, but I went to a real studio, and it was the first time I did that, and I thought that it was just amazing. That's when I really started thinking, wait, this is like people really do this. Like, this is legit.
So technically that was your first professional job?
That was my first professional job.
How old were you?
I was in my 20s at that point. I had floated around a while, like I said, like I was waiting tables, like, yeah, I'm gonna make it someday, because I'm not doing anything. I was doing stuff at home, drawing things and writing things, but not making anything happen, so it was a big deal.
So making the transition to the mainstream show business, I mean, that was a family thing. What was your first project that brought you into professional work, and what was that like for you?
The first thing I got was in the music stores. There was a point where they had kiosks where you could go and you could put on headphones and you could listen to samples of CDs and stuff. And so they had these CDs that were coming out that were like different styles of music, like tiki music, jazz music, lounge music. And the first job I got professionally was doing that, like doing the guy who's talking to you through that. Like, we've also got this. And if you like this, check this out. I mean, I don't remember, it was so long ago. But that was the first gig, so it was very, and I never found one. I remember like going to malls, like going into different record stores, like, I gotta have one here. But I don't know if it ever, I assume it happened somewhere.
What was the first show you did? That people saw? I mean, that was local, that was kind of out on broadcast or DVD or something like that.
The first show, I'm trying to think, like anime or, I did a show called Edgar and Ellen. It was based on a book series. And at that session, I worked with a whole bunch of other actors who I hadn't met before. One of them was Kirk Thornton. who is an incredible voice actor. And I didn't know that he did a lot of anime. I hadn't met him before. I didn't know that he also directed. And I caught him in the lobby in between, you know, at a break or something, and he mentioned the word anime. And I was like, oh my God, I love anime. I grew up on anime.
I said, they've always got the guy that's the older guy who's explaining all the exposition like this, and he's a little bit angry.
And then there's younger guys who are like this, and they're all... And then there's the cool, laid back. I'm like, oh my God, I love anime. It's so cool. I had no idea, right? He was like, hey, give me your information, would you? And I was like, yeah, why? So I was just clueless, but then he actually, for anime, he brought me in, and the first studio I ever worked at was Bang Zoom. So, props. And Eric, I don't know if you know, I can't remember these words, but it was I either worked first on IGPX or Samurai Champloo, and I'm not sure which one. But those are like the two first.
Going on at the same time.
Exactly, so I don't remember which technically happened first. But it was a surreal experience. I remember the first time I walked into Bang Zoom to work professionally, and Kirk was right there. He was like, hey, and he shook my hand, and Steve Bloom was sitting on the couch right there. And I was very aware of who he was. And Kirk introduced me to him, and you know, he did one of those, he actually said, like, welcome to the world of anime. It's cool, you know, and I was like, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Steve.
So, you also worked in radio? You did radio dramas, I read?
I did for a company called Focus on the Family Adventures in Odyssey, which is a Christian, a lot of people know this. It's a Christian radio show. It's been going on, I don't even know, like 30 years or something. Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly, I didn't know how successful it was. And it was one of the more amazing gigs I worked, just because we're working with so many different actors, and it was people I grew up with. That it was so amazing to work with a lot of these. I was recognizing voices while we were going, and everybody was so nice. I know I worked with Jess Arnell. That was one of the first ones. I forgot the name. What is the lady? I think she just passed away. That played Judy Jetson. Janet Waldo. Right. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I forgot. But Janet Waldo, and I remember she was reading something, and when she was done and there was a break, I looked at her and I said, "You're the sexy computer voice from Battle of the Planets, G-Force." And she was like, yeah, I'm also a princess and all the female roles. And I was like, yes, you are. And she was so cool. We were recording all week that the next day, without me, just all I did was talk to her a little bit like that. She brought in a princess figure from G-Force, signed, and just handed it to me. It was like, that's so cool that you knew that, yeah. So
voice actors are, by and large, are nice people. Why? Because we're easily replaced. So if you're nasty, you don't last long. So it's very cool.
Yeah.
So I was reading through most of your credits. The majority of your credits are video games. Really, there's a lot of animation and stuff like that. But for you, what's the difference between like working on an anime, like what we've done together on Hunter x Hunter, or you worked on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or those guys, and doing that and doing video games for you? How is it a different approach for you?
Well, you know, each project's a little bit different. In terms of, if you're talking about original animation, similar to the radio show, all the actors are generally in the room together, and you all have scripts, and you're just reading it live, and you're bouncing off each other, and you do maybe a scene at 2 or 3 pages at a time, and then you go back and try it again until you get through the whole script. When you're doing anime and voiceover, and video games, you're usually by yourself. So you've got your director, maybe you've got the producers there too, but you're in the booth by yourself. So that's the first main difference. And in terms of video games and anime, you always are seeing what's already done, what's already there. So you have what's basically, essentially a guide track for you. You see what the original Japanese was, you see the tone, you see the urgency, you see the emotion that the character is exuding, and you know that's where I've got to be. You don't have to copy it, but you've got to do your interpretation of that same vibe. With video games, except for cutscenes, sometimes they're already animated and you're seeing them, so you're matching lip flap. For the most part, you're creating it, but by yourself. And video games can be very monotonous, depending on it. But if you're doing a military game, where you're in there for hours, and you're supposed to like 3 times over do each line, and you're just going like, grenade! 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 Frag out! Frag out! Frag out! You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're just
Hours.
Yeah. So, and it's weird because you'll get in a pattern, and sometimes you have to go. because it starts sounding weird. You say the same phrases like over and over and see if it doesn't start sounding like a totally different language to you. You're like, frag, is that a word? Frag, am I saying that right?
Well, there's also the directors that'll say, okay, I need 10 different versions of you burning to death in a fire.
I actually enjoy the big death stuff, but not 10 versions. I think one of the coolest ones I had was, it was like spilling acid on your face, screaming, reacting to that, then kind of tripping around until I finally fall off a ledge, and then fall to my death and hit the ground. That was one of the good ones I had. And you get those ones.
Now you gotta do it.
That's like, set myself up for it.
Make your dreams come true. You can do this. If you're a voice actor, you can get to do stuff like this.
It's so funny because there's occasional I'll give them a direction. Let's Scooby-Doo, please. So let's touch on some of the roles you played.
All right. Let's get serious.
No.
Let's get serious, folks.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That just kind of struck me, and then I see Batman out there too. So tell me about those roles. Where those come from, and I mean, is it something you wanted and just fell into, or you went after?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was an audition at my agent's. And, you know, I don't know if any of you guys notice, I don't know if you look at my career at all, I play a lot of dads. I play a lot of villains.
So
sometimes I play villain dads, you know. It's true. Sailor Moon. Yeah, so that was an audition, and, you know, there's so many auditions, so you do your best every time, and you hope to get it, but you really kind of put it out of your mind. So that was, like, really awesome. Because you get the call, like, hey Keith, you know, they want you to come in for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles over at Nickelodeon. Andrea Romano's going to be directing, and you go, yeah! You're like, yeah! And then, like, as soon as you got the phone, you go, oh my god, I gotta go over to Nickelodeon and do this. I gotta be good, because it's serious. You're like, oh my goodness, it all sets in like that. So I gotta rock this. But I mean, that was just one of those roles that's just, you know, when you get it, you're like, people know, I know Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah. I grew up on that, so to be able to work with the whole gang and do that is unbelievable. So I think I got to do, I don't know, I mean, I had like 5 or 6 episodes. I'm hoping they've been in space for those of you who've been watching the show. So yeah, you're like, out of space is great. I'm like, but get back to Earth. Get back to Earth so I can be in it, because I'm selfish. I'm so selfish. Finish your adventures in there.
And I have to mention, I have to remiss, having been a person who's played the character myself, Lupin the Third. So we're 2 of the Lupins.
We're 2 of the Lupins.
But yours was a little different than what we've seen before. So can you tell me a little bit about
it?
It different.
Well, the funny thing is when I got the audition, I went, the first thing I was like, what about Tony? That was the first thing, like I was like, why?
I auditioned, by the way.
Yeah, go figure. But I mean, that's the first thing, because I'm actually, and I've told you this before, you know, I'm a big fan of that character, and before I was doing this, I was watching Lupin the Third, and I remember the video game. Do you guys remember the Cliffhanger video game? It was like a laser disc, like Dragon Slayer and stuff. They had I don't know if you knew that, they had a Lupin the Third video game.
I did one, I don't know if that was it.
No, they used the actual footage from one of the movies. I think it was Castle of Cagliostro that they used in that one. So I was already a fan, so when I got that, it was him and Jigen that I had the auditions for, and I thought both of these, we have great people already playing these roles. That's really strange. And I thought, well, I'm gonna do it. Maybe I got a chance at Jigen. I mean, you know, let's see. And I remember just thinking, like, I know this character, because to me, I mean, he is bad. He's a great thief, but he's also got that kind of bumbling thing and that kind of overconfidence thing. That's the way I saw him. And he's always got his buddies to kind of bail him out. Like, I'm always kind of like, I don't know if he didn't have his buddies. Like, things kind of work out for him, and he is good at what he does. So I was like, well, I could be a bumbling, like, that's like me. I'm not, you know, let me just be extra bravado. And yeah, so I can't even remember exactly now, but I know we had I know he had a lot of swagger is what he had. I think he was somewhere in this kind of range, and I think I was also channeling a bit of what I'd heard, because you grow up on someone, you can't help but getting a little bit of that attitude in there.
There have been 4 or 5 of us, by the way, that played the part, so...
Yeah, remember Bob Bergen?
Bob Bergen, Sonny Strait, so it's... all right, let's talk a little bit quickly, and then we'll get into the fun stuff. The video game that you've done, because I saw you listed on Call of Duty, Danganronpa, Resident Evil, both World of Warcraft, and League of Legends.
If light travels so fast,
Do you have a preference?
I've never caught a ninja.
Do you have a preference, a type of game that you prefer to work with?
This is war. Survival is your responsibility. You got any Hunk fans, Resident Evil peeps? I'm sorry, Tony, go ahead. I got sidetracked. Well,
No, keep doing this for me.
no. It was in my head. What was it? What, do I have a favorite
Do you
kind?
have a particular type? Because I mean, some of those are screamy and yelly, some of them are story. Do you have a particular type that you prefer working on?
The screamy ones are never any of our favorites, but I mean, for me at least, I like the characters in video games that are fun and keep giving. The ones that come back. The one when you get a recurring role. We got some Sonic the Hedgehog fans.
Oh, hey. Oh, I invented the crocodile in Sonic the Hedgehog. So I had a lot of fun with that.
So that's been great for me. I did Hunk from Resident Evil, which is awesome. Anybody play Call of Duty Black Ops, Call of Duty 3? I'm the Reaper. The Reaper, like he's so processed, you would have no idea, but I play the Reaper in that, and maybe some of you guys are playing Overwatch?
I play Torgyard.
And then Warcraft, lots of different, well, in Warcraft, I'm Ronin. So actually, a lot of you guys had to hear my, what is that? Citizens of, what's the Dalaran? Those of you guys who heard that meme and that quote over and over, that's me. And then, you guys played Skyrim? You get to the Cloud District very often. What am I saying? Of course you don't. Yes, so...
I'm so impressed you remember the dialogue.
Well, that one, that's the character. For those of you guys who don't know Skyrim, there's a character. I do this voice all through the game, but for some reason, there's a guy named Nazim in one particular town who approaches you unprompted and just starts being real arrogant to you. And so the whole gaming community really took to hating this guy. So you can go on YouTube and see 50 ways I killed Nazim. My favorite thing is somebody did a mod where they actually went in and tinkered with the game, and they took 100 Nazims and put them on top of an icy mountain with the instruction to go back to their hometown. And so they all walk together, they bump into each other and constantly say arrogant things to each other, and slowly they're picked off by wolves, thieves, raiders, until 2 or 3 of them finally make it back and are just as arrogant. But somebody actually took the time to create that. So these are the characters I end up loving just because they have a life of their own even after I'm done with them. So
one of the characters that I've loved of all of yours, it's the one we're working on right now, which is Hunter x Hunter. You're playing it's something we're doing at Bang Zoom, and it's on Cartoon Network, Toonami. It's on late at night on the weekends. This is a weird character, and kind of
we're exploring it together.
Is it difficult to get to that strangeness without wanting to jump out a window?
It's not. I imagine it could be. Honestly, I'm very comfortable with you in the booth if I'm being honest. And he's fun. He's actually the character that right now, I have a few things going on right now, and that's the one I look forward to the most. It's some kind of a release for me to play Hisoka. It's in some weird, and I also I haven't seen the series before, so I'm always very excited about what is going to happen next. And I'm watching it, guys. If you guys don't know, I'm live tweeting at Silver Talkie. I've been live tweeting Hunter x Hunter every weekend when it's on, every Saturday. So you can find me there. So I'm watching it now, but I don't know ahead of time what's going to happen. And I know people keep saying you do. But he's a very freeing character.
Really?
Well, looks like his arms have turned to flower petal. He's just so fun. Probably not a direct quote, but it's close.
No, but you'll need to cosplay that sometime. All right,
Then everybody would go, you don't even sound like him. I mean, but what?
It's okay. I was sent an audition request for something, and they sometimes put a little example of what they wanted to sound like, and the example was me. So I went ahead and sent in me, and I didn't get the part. So
I remember getting that part. No.
Well,
isn't it weird when they do that though? They do that sometimes. It's weird stuff.
So there's a lot of, who wants to be a voice actor out here? So you have some advice. There's a lot of, this is a weird town. It's a strange way to get business to get into. Any advice for these guys?
Well, first off, those of you that live in LA, I know some of you may have traveled here for Expo, you're in the right place. So that's good, because we get this question when we're traveling and doing conventions anywhere, and when you're in the middle of Nebraska, it's like, I hate to tell you this, but you're probably going to have to move, I mean, if you're serious about it. First off, it's acting. So take acting classes. Take improv classes, because it helps to be able to think on your feet. I mean, that's huge. You want to be able to get comfortable with it. One of the coolest things, I say this at all kinds of conventions, I'm not because this is a Bang Zoom panel, but the classes they offer at Bang Zoom are amazing because they cast out of the classes.
Sometimes.
It's not a guarantee. Well, it's a guarantee that I just say, go do that, that's it, you're done. But honestly, there's not a lot of opportunities, I think, to take a class at a working studio with a working director and actually have people like casting directors listening to what you're doing and interested in what you're doing. And if you're ready, they'd be interested in casting you in something. They're actually looking for new voices. I mean, it's really true. That's not a line to get you into class. They gave plenty of examples in the video, and there's more examples. So that's one of the best resources I think out there. I mean, like I said, I got my start at least in anime with Bang Zoom, and it's been great for me. The other thing is, it's an up and down, weird, bizarre career. So I would think, don't do it for the money. You don't really get any kind of, don't do it for the fame, because you're only in a certain group of people are going to maybe know who you are. So it's not about that. It's really doing it for the passion and doing it because you enjoy it. And have the versatility, because you might get in and be like, you know what, I want to be some people want to be an on-camera actor, and they fall into voiceover, and they fall in love with it. They have incredible careers that way. And it's not like they didn't make it, so they love what they're doing. They just didn't know where to start, but they ended up in the right place. Some people want to do anime and end up doing original animation, or maybe you're great at narration, or doing commercials. And some people can't wait to get into animation. They can't. They're just booking Pepsi commercials constantly. Boo-hoo. But it's true though. Exactly. That's good. That's lucrative. But just be versatile and be prepared to, if you love it, to stay the course and keep working at it, because it may take a while. There are those few stories of people who quickly zoom to the top, but that's not usually the case. I mean, I worked really hard to get where I am, and I have so much more that I want to achieve, and I think a lot of us are like that.
Well, also some of the zoom to the top, you zoom right at the first gig, and then that's it for a while.
Yeah,
that happens.
You're like, I'm working!
Oh yeah, when I did Robotech, I thought that's it, my swag, and then it was like a year and a half, 2 years later, it didn't work again.